Is a $450 stainless steel frying pan really worth it when you can get one for $80 or even $30? To find out, I tested 31 of the highest rated stainless steel frying pans on the market. To find out how fast they heat up, I put each pan on the same burner at the same heat setting and measured the surface temperature in the center after 1 and 2 minutes. I also measured the outer edge to see how evenly they distribute heat. To test heat retention, I heated each pan to exactly 400 degrees Fahrenheit, removed it from the heat, and measured the surface temperature after 5 minutes. To test warp resistance, I measured how flat the bottom of each pan was before and after heating it to 475 degrees Fahrenheit on a high-powered induction cooktop for 2 minutes. I also measured the thickness of every pan, which most brands don't disclose, but it impacts everything from performance to durability. Beyond these controlled tests, I cooked a ton of food in each pan over the last several months, including eggs, chicken, fish, vegetables, and much more. In this video, I give you my honest review of each pan in under 30 seconds. I show you which ones are worth buying and which ones you should avoid. I'll also give you a comparison chart so you can see all the specs and data side by side. I'll start with the least expensive pan and end with the most expensive. Farberware Classic is the cheapest pan I tested, and you can tell it's cheap the second you pick it up. It's ultra light with thin walls that dent easily. It also has a short plastic handle that can't go past 350 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven. IKEA 365 is a disc bottom pan with thin steel sides and an extremely shiny mirror-like cooking surface. It's the second lightest pan I tested, but it actually performed surprisingly well in my tests, likely due to the thick disc bottom. And overall, I enjoy cooking with it. My main complaint is the handle. It's a hollow, bent piece of metal with an exposed open end and a visible seam. Water goes inside when you wash it and it squirts out the other end. It just feels cheap compared to every other handle. Similar to IKEA 365, the IKEA Hemkomst has a highly polished interior, which seems to help food release a little bit easier. The flat handle won't twist in your hand, but it digs into your palm and isn't very comfortable. This pan also doesn't have flared rims, so pouring and plating isn't as smooth. Henckels Clad H3 has a comfortable handle that's flat on top and rounded on the bottom. It has flared rims, a nice wide cooking surface, and it sears really well. It's also one of the thinnest pans I tested, and the temperature difference between the center and outer edge was one of the largest. You can't buy the 12-inch fry pan on its own. It only comes in a set with a 10-inch pan. It's still a good deal if you want both sizes, but it's worth knowing if you don't have the space for 2 pans. Tramontina Tri-Ply clad has a polished exterior, smooth edges, and the walls have a nice gradual slope. It didn't stand out in any of my tests, but it performs solid in real-world cooking. After several months of cooking, I noticed that the bottom warped very slightly upward. You can feel the surface dip down near the edges when you rub your finger over the cooking surface. In theory, this could cause oil to flow towards the sides instead of staying under the food, but in reality, it hasn't impacted cooking at all. The Goldilocks pan feels solid and sturdy when you pick it up. At 3 millimeters, it's noticeably thicker than the Henckels and Tramontina, and it's excellent for searing thick cuts of meat. That said, there's one thing about this pan that I wish was different. Before I get into that, I want to quickly thank Huel for sponsoring this video. If you're not familiar, Huel makes plant-based, nutritionally complete meals and drinks that are designed by registered nutritionists. They're packed with protein, vitamins, minerals, and fiber, and they're ready to go in under a minute. I'm a big fan of their ready-to-drink meals. They have 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and they're a full 400-calorie meal. They come in a bunch of different flavors, they're super smooth and creamy, and they actually fill you up. On the days where I'm testing products and filming all day, having a meal that I can just grab from the fridge and drink saves me a ton of time. I don't have to stop what I'm doing to figure out food. I also like the Black Edition powder, which has 40 grams of protein per serving if you want to mix your own. I've also been drinking the Huel Daily Greens, which are a sparkling drink with vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, and superfoods, and they only have 25 calories. They're crisp and refreshing and are perfect for a midday break. If you want to try it for yourself, scan the QR code or click the link in the video description and use code PRUDENT15 to get 15% off orders of $50 or more. All right, so I mentioned that there was one thing about this Goldilocks pan that I wish was different. The groove on the handle prevents it from rotating, but I wish it was a little thicker. If you have large hands or you're wearing an oven mitt, there's not much to grab onto. IKEA Sensuell has a chunky, utilitarian design. It's not the most elegant looking pan, but it's built like a tank. It's the second thickest fully clad pan I tested and the fourth heaviest overall. It sits perfectly flat on the cooktop and has excellent heat retention. Most stainless steel pans leave the aluminum core exposed around the edge, and over time, that aluminum can recede, causing the steel layers to become sharp or even separate. This pan has sealed rims, which eliminate that risk entirely. My one complaint is the handle. It's the second shortest of any pan I tested, and I don't love the rubber grip on the underside. But the bigger issue is that it gets unusually hot. Most stainless steel pan handles only get hot in the first inch or two near the pan, but on this one, the heat travels up much further. Cuisinart MultiClad Pro has a super smooth polished interior with a brushed exterior and a subtle polished ring around the top. It looks more expensive than it is. It has one of the widest flat cooking surfaces I tested, sealed rims, and a helper handle for when the pan is full. The main handle has a groove on top for your thumb that locks the pan in place so it doesn't rotate when you tilt it. It's one of the most comfortable and secure handles I tested. Legend is a solid all-around pan. It has a polished exterior, slightly taller walls than most, which gives you a little bit more capacity, and it heats evenly with excellent heat retention. It is on the heavier side, and the handle is thick and round, so when you're pouring liquids, sliding food onto a plate, or hand washing it, it can get a little slippery. Misen is one of the heavier pans I tested. It was also one of the fastest to heat up, and it has sealed rims, which is rare at this price point. The handle is long, but it's very rounded, and like Legend, it can get slippery when you're tilting the pan or washing it with soapy hands. Heritage Steel Eater Series is made by a family-owned company in Clarksville, Tennessee, and it's the least expensive American-made pan I tested. It has a brushed exterior that hides fingerprints and flared rims for easy pouring. I'm a fan of the handle because it's flat on top so it won't rotate in your hand, but rounded on the sides so it's still comfortable to hold. It's not too heavy, not too light, it's a solid all-around pan. The Caraway stainless steel fry pan has a brushed finish and a modern design, but it's expensive for a 10.5-inch pan, and they don't make a bigger version. If you want a larger cooking surface, you need to get the 4-quart sauté pan, which has taller walls and is much heavier. This pan doesn't have flared rims, and the rounded handle is comfortable, but like Legend and Misen, it's more prone to rotating in your hand when you tilt the pan. This is probably rare, but the handle on my pan was dented right out of the box. The made-in pan is listed as 12 inches, but because of its wide flared rims, it actually measures 13 inches from rim to rim. It also has the widest flat cooking surface of any pan I tested at 10 inches. The handle looks a lot like the Heritage Steel Eater Series handle, but it gets a little wider as you move toward the end, which I like. The Heritage Steel handle is the same width throughout. This maiden pan was one of the fastest pans to heat up, and it has consistently performed really well in the several years I've owned it. D3 is All-Clad's original and best-selling collection, and it's made at their Pennsylvania factory. It has a polished exterior, flared rims, it heats evenly and performs great. The handle is the most polarizing of any pan I tested. It has a concave groove on top that locks the pan in place so it won't rotate. And it works really well if you grab the handle with a towel or oven mitt. But since the groove is so deep, the edges can dig into your hand and make it very uncomfortable. Some people love the design and others hate it. All-Clad D3 Everyday is the newer version of D3 with a few key upgrades. Most importantly, the handle has a more subtle groove that's much more comfortable, and it's almost an inch longer. This might be my favorite handle design. It's safe and functional, comfortable, and it looks good. The flat cooking surface is also wider, so you can fit more food without overcrowding. This pan heats incredibly evenly, and the heat retention results were excellent. However, the bottom warped noticeably when I tested it on a high-powered induction cooktop. So if you cook on induction, you need to preheat it gradually. The Titanium series is Heritage Steel's pricier collection. It costs $30 more than the Heritage Steel Eater series, mainly because the cooking surface is made of steel reinforced with titanium. It's supposed to be more resistant to pitting and corrosion over time, although those issues are rare and easily avoidable without the special steel. I've already mentioned I'm not a fan of rounded, slippery handles like this, and I also dislike how it's wide in the middle but tapers thin at the end. There's not much to grab onto unless you hold it right in the center. Buyer Alchemy heated up faster than any other pan I tested. After 1 minute, the center was already at 563 degrees, and after 2 minutes, it was so hot that my surface thermometer couldn't even read it. Besides needing to keep a close eye on the heat to avoid burning your food, the rims are straight, not flared, and the end of the handle is flat with a sharp edge that digs into your hand. The Our Place Titanium Always Pan Pro isn't a traditional stainless steel pan. but I included it because it has a steel exterior and an aluminum core like most fully clad steel pans. The difference is the cooking surface. Instead of steel, it's titanium with a raised pattern designed to reduce sticking without any nonstick coating. And in my egg tests, it actually works pretty well. The original version had some serious design flaws with the handle and the lid, but our place listened to the criticism and fixed them. The Fissler M5-Pro Ply is a solid 5-ply pan made in Germany with a brushed exterior, sealed rims, and no rivets. It had one of the smallest temperature differences between the center and the outer edge of any pan I tested, so it heats really evenly. The handle is comfortable, but it's very round, so you need to grip it carefully. All-Clad D5 has the same cup-shaped handle as the All-Clad D3 collection, but it's an inch longer. And instead of a polished exterior, D5 is brushed. It's also slightly heavier. However, the big difference is the construction. D5 is made up of 5 bonded layers instead of 3, with a thin steel core. All-Clad claims that the steel core makes it heat more evenly, and my tests showed it actually does distribute heat a little bit more evenly than D3. But the difference was only about 15 degrees, which isn't huge. The trade-off is you're paying a lot more than D3 for differences that most home cooks won't notice. Demeyere Industry has a brushed exterior, gently sloped walls, and flared rims. The handle is rivetless, so the cooking surface is completely smooth with nothing for food or grease to get stuck on. It also has a wide fork at the end that gives it a unique look and disperses heat. It's one of the most well-designed pans. The weight, thickness, and handle all feel right. My only complaint is the price. You're paying a premium for a pan that performs similar to other options that cost much less. 360 Cookware is made in West Bend, Wisconsin, and their main selling point is vapor cooking, where you spin the lid to create a tight seal that locks in moisture so you can cook with less oil. In my experience, it just burned the pan. I'm also not a big fan of the helper handle. It's long, but not wide enough to actually fit your hand. The Fissler original-profi is a disc bottom pan, but the disc is nearly 7 millimeters thick, which makes it the thickest pan I tested. And because of its thickness, it has the best heat retention of any pan in the group. And the temperature difference between the center and the outer edge was essentially 0. The trade-off with a pan this thick is speed. It was the slowest pan to heat up. It also has a textured cooking surface that keeps oil directly under food, which helps with browning, but it makes eggs harder to slide and cleaning slightly more difficult. The handle is rivetless and comfortable, but the sharp corners at the end can dig into your hand. Hestan is expensive, but it's one of the most elegant looking brands I've tested. Their ProBond forged collection has a brushed exterior with a polished ring around the top, sealed rims, flush rivets, and a handle with smooth rounded edges and a subtle groove that keeps the pan from rotating. Everything about it feels intentional and well crafted. It's made in Italy and the performance is excellent. This is nitpicking, but I wish the end of the handle was thicker and the hanging loop wasn't so big. When you grab the end of the handle, there's not much to hold on to and your fingers can easily slip through the loop. Hestan ProBond Luxe is similar to ProBond Forged, but with a few design tweaks. The exterior is fully polished instead of brushed, and the handle is lower and more parallel to the cooking surface. Because of that, you need less clearance to fit it between oven racks. There's also a small cutout in the handle to disperse heat, although I haven't noticed either version getting hot, so it's mostly a cosmetic thing. On ProBond Forged, there's a gap between the handle and the rim that's tough to clean. On Luxe, that connection is tighter, so there's less of a gap to clean. Buyer Affinity is made in France with a polished exterior and excellent heat retention. At 10 inches, it has the longest handle of any pan I tested. It has a groove to prevent slipping, and it's also thick with rounded edges, so it's nice and comfortable. Although the temperature difference between the center and outer edge after 2 minutes was one of the largest I measured, if you give it enough time to preheat, it cooks evenly, and it's excellent for searing. All-Clad copper core has the same cup-shaped handle and polished exterior as All-Clad D3, but with a copper core instead of aluminum. Copper conducts heat better than aluminum, but in my tests, several aluminum core pans heated just as fast or faster, so the performance advantage isn't as big as you'd expect. Where this pan stands out is the design. You get a beautiful copper ring exposed around the exterior, and the handle is nearly 2 inches longer than D3. All-Clad G5 is one of the most unique pans I tested. Instead of a standard aluminum or copper core, this pan has a perforated graphite disc as the core layer. Similar to copper, graphite conducts heat extremely well. However, it weighs much less, so you get a pan that heats fast without the weight. It also cools down as fast as it heats up. If you want a pan that responds quickly when you turn the dial up or down, this one is great. But if you want a pan that holds its temperature steady, so you can step away from the stove for a minute without worrying about burning your food, this isn't the one. Demeyere Atlantis Pro line is the heaviest pan I tested, and it's the second slowest to heat up. But once it's hot, it holds its temperature better than almost every other pan. It's made up of 7 bonded layers, and it's 5 millimeters thick, so it heats like cast iron, but with the convenience and versatility of stainless steel. The bottom 3 layers are steel, which makes it efficient on induction and virtually warp-proof. It was the only stainless steel pan that didn't buzz or click on the induction cooktop. The handles are welded instead of riveted, so the cooking surface is completely smooth. However, welded handles are not as secure as riveted handles, and they can break off. It's rare, but it happened to me. Demeyere replaced it, and I haven't had any issues since. Hestan CopperBond is 5-ply with a copper core, and because copper is dense, it's one of the heaviest pans I tested. The copper is exposed on the sides, which looks great, but it tarnishes quickly and needs regular polishing to keep it looking good. Most copper cookware won't work on induction because copper isn't ferromagnetic, but this pan has a steel base, so it does. If you love the look of copper and cook on induction, that's the real selling point. What makes Hestan NanoBond unique is the surface. Titanium ions are vaporized in a vacuum chamber and bonded to the steel surface, creating a layer that's 4 times harder than typical stainless steel. You can see and feel the difference immediately. The surface has a distinct gray-blue color and an almost silky-like feel. That smoothness also makes it slightly less sticky with eggs. It's also more resistant to scratches than standard stainless steel. This pan sears beautifully. It has a wide cooking surface, flush rivets, and sealed rims. That was a lot of information, so let's look at all the pans side by side. A few things jump out when looking at all the data. The 2 thickest pans retained heat far better than the rest, but they were also slow to heat up. Most pans are around 3 millimeters thick, and in that range, heat retention and conduction is much less predictable. The sample size was small, but the disc bottom pans I tested heated more evenly across the cooking surface than fully clad pans. This is likely due to the bottoms being thicker and flatter. And interestingly, 5-ply pans were not thicker than 3-ply pans, and the number of plies advertised didn't correlate with better performance. So which stainless steel frying pans are actually worth buying, and which ones should you avoid? Before I give you my take, just a quick heads up that I've linked to all 31 pans I tested in the video description. So if money is not a factor, Demeyere Atlantis Pro line and Hestan NanoBond are the best overall. Go with Demeyere for the heat retention and excellent induction performance. Go with Hestan NanoBond if you want a lighter, more responsive pan with high-end features. In the $100 to $200 range, Made In, All-Clad D3 Everyday, and Heritage Steel Eater Series are the safest long-term buys. I've used all 3 for years, and they consistently perform great. Under $100, Cuisinart MultiClad Pro is the clear winner. It has one of the best handles, a wide cooking surface, sealed rims, and the performance is solid. On the other end, these are the pans I don't recommend. They either have design flaws, performance issues, or the price is just too high for what it is. If you have questions about any of the pans I just reviewed, or if there's a brand or collection that I missed, leave me a comment below. If this video was helpful, check out this video where I break down the best Dutch ovens, or this video where I review the best air fryers. And for more videos like this, click the logo to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.